Tonight, breaking news, the dramatic arrest in the case of the missing college student in Utah. Police now saying they found her remains. A suspect under arrest. The clues on their phones leading police to his home. Debate shakeup. Joe Biden's damage control less than 24 hours after being confronted by Senator Kamala Harris in their first debate. The former vice president today defending his civil rights record, saying it can't be summed up in 30 to 60-second answers. Overseas, President Trump joking with Vladimir Putin, laughing off a question about Russian meddling, their first face-to-face meeting since the Mueller report. Putin now inviting President Trump to Russia. Pulled from the flames. Get back! The deadly collision. Good Samaritans saving a man trapped inside a burning car. The deadly plane crash. A sole survivor. The small plane slamming into a house. The pilot and someone inside both killed. Hot car rescue. 2 women, including a mother, accused of leaving her baby in the car while going into a liquor store. 15 children dying in hot cars so far this year. And the World Cup quarterfinal showdown, the biggest match yet. The U.S. taking on France. The incredible plays, but an American star stealing the show.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us on a busy Friday night. I'm Tom Yamas, in for David. And we begin tonight with breaking developments in the mysterious disappearance of that college student in Utah. Police making a dramatic arrest and a grim discovery. Heavily armed officers arresting a suspect at his home in Salt Lake City. Authorities say they found the charred remains of Mackenzie Lewick in the backyard. The victim reported missing almost 2 weeks ago, last seen here leaving the airport, taking a ride share to a park early in the morning. The police chief says phone records show her last communication was with the suspect. ABC's Clayton Sandell leads us off.
A missing persons case tonight becoming a murder case with a dramatic SWAT team takedown.
We are filing charges of aggravated murder, aggravated kidnapping, obstruction of justice, and desecration of a body in the homicide of Mackenzie Lewick.
The suspect, 31-year-old Ayula Ajahi. Police say he and Mackenzie Lewick had been texting on June 17th, just before meeting up at this Salt Lake City park around 3 a.m.
Phone records show the location of their phones to be at Hatch Park, within less than a minute of each other.
Ajahi owns this house 5 miles from the park. Police searched it Wednesday night, carrying out bags of evidence and digging in the backyard, making a gruesome discovery where neighbors say he'd recently set a fire.
Charred material was located, which has now been determined to be female human tissue.
Ajahi's online profiles claim he works in IT, was a contractor for Goldman Sachs, and spent 6 months in the Army National Guard. Police are not talking about a motive or exactly how he and the 23-year-old Lewick knew each other. Investigators now following a digital trail of text messages, social media, and dating apps for clues.
This is one of the most difficult phone calls I've ever made. As both Greg and his wife Diana were devastated and heartbroken by this news.
And Clayton Sandell joins us live. Clayton, just a horrific discovery. We saw the police chief there emotional during that press conference, and he revealed at this point they're not certain the suspect acted alone.
That's right, Tom. The police chief said that this investigation is not over, and they want to know if that suspect acted alone or with somebody else's help. He also said the suspect claims he didn't know Mackenzie Lewick, but had several photos of her on his phone. Tom.
Clayton Sandell with those new developments tonight. Clayton, thank you. We turn to politics now in the shakeup in the Democratic race for 2020. Some big moments and big clashes from that debate. Early frontrunner Joe Biden taking hits on stage from Senator Kamala Harris, confronting him over civil rights issues. Less than 24 hours later, the former vice president fiercely defending his record. Early momentum in the race seeming to shift. Here's ABC's Mary Bruce.
Joe Biden came to Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Push Coalition today looking for a do-over.
Before I start, I'd like to say something about the debate we had last night.
He's talking about that defining moment from last night's debate. Senator Kamala Harris confronting the former vice president for touting his ability to work with anyone, even segregationist senators.
I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country.
Harris then took on Biden for his opposition in the 70s to federally ordered busing to integrate public schools, and she made it personal.
There was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools, and she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
On stage, Biden forced to go on the defensive.
It's a mischaracterization of my position across the board. I did not praise racist. That is not true.
Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Today in Chicago, an attempted cleanup.
I heard and I listened to and I respect Senator Harris. But, you know, we all know that 30 seconds to 60 seconds on a campaign debate exchange can't do justice to a lifetime committed to civil rights. Well, I fought my heart out to ensure that civil rights and voting rights, equal rights are enforced everywhere.
All right, Mary Bruce joins us now from Washington. And Mary, the discussion today, not just about Joe Biden's rough night, but also about a strong showing for Senator Kamala Harris. And tonight, the senator is, though, changing one of her answers on a key question.
Well, Tom, Harris last night raised her hand in support of abolishing private health insurance and replacing it with a government-run plan. Now, today she said she misunderstood the question and tried to walk it back a bit. But, Tom, this is not the first time that she's had to do some cleanup on this issue. And tonight her position still remains a little murky. Tom.
Mary Bruce for us tonight. Mary, thank you. We head overseas now. Tonight, President Trump making global headlines during his meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin at the G20 summit in Japan. The two leaders joking in their first face-to-face meeting since the Mueller report blasted Russia for sweeping and systematic interference in the 2016 U.S. election. President Trump playfully telling Putin, don't meddle in the election. ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl is there in Japan.
They greeted each other like old friends, President Trump with a pat on the back for Vladimir Putin. Later, as they prepared to face the cameras, the two leaders commiserated about the news media.
Great term, isn't it? You don't have a problem in Russia. We have.
A shared joke, although Putin has been accused of having journalists murdered. This is the first Trump-Putin meeting since Robert Mueller released his report documenting Russia's, quote, sweeping and systemic interference in the 2016 election. An American reporter asked Trump if he'd warned Putin not to do it again. The president responded with a smile. The two men met behind closed doors for nearly an hour. The White House did not say whether the issue of election meddling came up. What did come up? A possible Moscow visit for President Trump, Putin inviting him to Russia in May, just months before the election. No word yet on whether the invitation will be accepted.
And John Karl joins us now from Osaka. And John, President Trump now preparing for another high-stakes meeting, this one with the leader of China.
Tom, the eyes of the world, especially world markets, will be on this meeting later today with President Xi of China. The president says he hopes to make progress to end what looks like an emerging trade war between the United States and China.
Jonathan Karl for us tonight. John, thank you. Back here at home in the major headline tonight from the Supreme Court, the justices will take up the Trump administration's legal challenge to DACA in their next term. The president trying to end the Obama-era program allowing more than 700,000 Dreamers to remain in the country after being illegally brought to the U.S. as children. A decision could come early next year. We do move on out of the deadly plane crash in North Carolina. A small plane slamming into a home. The pilot and a person inside the house both killed. Another person in the house was injured. The pilot reporting trouble moments before the plane went down. Here's ABC's David Curley.
Investigators tonight want to know exactly what sent that small plane into a home.
It was so loud, and then all of a sudden we heard an explosion.
The pilot dying, as well as one person in the Hope Mills, North Carolina area home just before midnight. But there was a second person in the home.
52-year-old female coming from a house that got impacted by an airplane and basically took the roof off.
They were pulling somebody out that was alive, and we heard her voice hollering out.
Investigators say the pilot had been practicing landings at a nearby airport.
The pilot reported some kind of control problem to air traffic control, and no further communications were received.
While the NTSB is leading the investigation, word tonight that the survivor from that house suffered serious injuries. Tom?
All right, David, thank you. News tonight about the avowed neo-Nazi convicted for the deadly car attack during the racist rally in Charlottesville. A judge today sentencing James Alex Fields Jr. to life in prison, rejecting the defense request for lesser time behind bars. Fields pleading guilty to 29 federal hate crime charges, ramming his car into counter-protesters, killing Heather Heyer, and wounding dozens of people. Next tonight, to the warning to parents as the first heat wave of the season grips parts of the country. Police say a 3-year-old boy was found dead after trapping himself in a minivan in Morristown, Tennessee. At least 15 hot car deaths now reported in the U.S. this year. Here's ABC's Marcus Moore.
This frantic scene unfolding outside an Oklahoma liquor store. Police trying to open a car's doors. A 14-month-old child left inside Wednesday. As two women walked toward the car.
Is this your car?
Yes, sir.
Open it up right now. Turn and put your hands behind your back. What the hell were you thinking?
A second officer removing the child. Police say he was wearing only a wet diaper, clammy to touch, and had bright red skin.
Is that your child? Then you come here. Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
The child's mother arrested. In 2018, 52 children died in hot cars across the country. And already this year, more than a dozen have lost their lives, including an 18-month-old in Galveston, Texas, one of 3 deaths in 3 days in the state.
And Tom, police tell us that second woman could face charges too. And they tell people to leave a cell phone, a handbag, or work ID, something that will make you go to the back of your car every time you park, hoping to prevent these kinds of tragedies. Tom?
A great tip. All right, Marcus, thank you. The hot car warning comes as the first heat wave of the season scorches parts of the country this weekend. Let's get right to ABC senior meteorologist Rob Marciano. Rob, good evening.
Hey, Tom, from New York down through D.C., we are in this heat wave, which is going to expand now into the Midwest. Check it out, Big Blue H right over Kentucky. So southwest flow is going to pump up the heat and humidity across those areas that have heat advisories. Sioux Falls to Kansas City well into the 90s tomorrow. 90s New York through D.C. We'll get a bit of a cool front across the extreme northeast, but that'll bring severe storms from New York back through D.C. around this time tomorrow, only cooling us a little. The heat's going to remain intact across the Midwest. 90s there. Dangerous heat, and we're still in June.
We'll be tracking that heat. All right, Rob, thank you. Now to the major showdown at the Women's World Cup. The U.S. taking on France in the quarterfinals. Their toughest matchup so far, playing in the sweltering heat we just heard about there. Team co-captain Megan Rapinoe in the spotlight for her stunning play on the field and her comments off it. Here's ABC's Adrian Banker.
That is it. U.S. advances.
Tonight, Team USA keeps their World Cup title dreams alive, beating their toughest competition yet. 5 minutes into play, Megan Rapinoe, during a free kick, doing what she's done throughout the tournament.
Sends it in low. Go, U.S.
Many Americans cheering on their team against host nation France. The unseasonably hot and humid weather didn't deter the U.S. women. Rapinoe, who created a firestorm when she said she will not visit the White House if the team wins it all, in the second half, scores a second goal. The French had plenty of shots, but were frustrated until more than an hour into the game, scoring. But Team USA manages to hold on.
Some incredible plays there. Adrian Banker joins us now live outside that stadium. And Team USA will have a few days to rest before their next big game.
That's right, Tom. In fact, they play again on Tuesday, but I don't know how they're going to come down off of the win tonight. And the adrenaline rush. We were inside with fans. The energy was so electric. Some of the Americans we talked to say they'll follow the team to Lyon. They play England next. Tom?
Adrian Banker with all the action out there. Adrian, thank you. Next tonight, honoring a pivotal milestone in the LGBTQ movement. Today marks the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots right here in New York City. Police raiding the landmark Stonewall Inn, an underground gay bar, igniting the fight for gay rights. ABC will be celebrating Pride all weekend, and you can watch the annual Pride Parade Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern on ABC News Live, available on abcnews.com and all of your devices. A couple finding the man trapped inside the burning vehicle, what they did to save his life. Here's ABC's Will Carr.
They're dead, Danny.
Oh my God. Watch Amy Tiger and her husband Danny
Is anyone in that car?
risk their lives to save the man inside that burning car.
Oh my God. Danny, no!
Ignoring his wife's pleas,
Danny, get back!
Danny races towards the fierce flames.
In the name of Jesus, come on!
Filled with adrenaline, Danny bends the door frame back and hauls the man to safety.
He said, "Don't leave me in here," so he had stuck his arm kind of out the window, and I grabbed a hold of him and drug him out.
Now, in the name of Jesus!
Seconds later, you hear an explosion.
Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling! Danny, you're safe and sound. Come on, buddy, come on. How are you alive?
Sadly, 2 people were killed in that head-on car crash. Those Good Samaritans, though, are receiving a lot of praise for saving that man's life. Tom.
Will Carr for us tonight. Will, thank you. And when we connect now with our index, the massive blaze breaking out in Santa Clara, California. Flames and thick smoke spewing from a condo construction site. You see it right there. One worker hurt trying to escape the blaze. Firefighters rushing to the scene. That inferno's hot debris still smoldering. Concerns the fire could spread. Homes have been evacuated in that area. What sparked this is now under investigation. And new developments in the case of that missing mother of 5 from New Canaan, Connecticut. Jennifer Doulos, now missing for more than a month. A judge today ordering her estranged husband, Fotis Doulos, and his girlfriend not to contact each other, but allowing her to leave the state. The 2 are both suspects in the case. They have pleaded not guilty to tampering with evidence. And overseas, a spectacular controlled blast in Genoa, Italy. Take a look. 50,000 tons of concrete crashing down by more than a ton of explosives. Huge plumes of dust and smoke shooting into the air, all to take down the remains of the Morandi Bridge. Its shocking collapse last year, killing 43 people. And when we finally tonight, America Strong. A toddler on the move doesn't sound so strange, but for this little boy, it's something to marvel. Nearly anywhere you go inside the Moreland family home, you're bound to find little Brody coming in hot, rolling, playing, even chasing after his cat Jill. Brody wasn't always the man on the move. For a while there, he spent so much of the day like this, on his belly, unable to go anywhere. He was born with spina bifida and spinal cord atrophy, essentially paralyzed below the chest.
When Brody was about 8 months old, I overheard some other parents talking about how their kids just destroyed their house and got toys everywhere, and it almost brought me to tears because for me, Brody wasn't ever going to be able to do that.
Brody's parents decided they weren't going to let life pass him by, so his dad, Taylor, got to work. Completely self-taught, he started to design, build, and test a device he called the Frog. They felt Brody looked like a little frog when they put him in it. Their son leaped into the challenge. The Frog was exactly what he needed. Now he could reach for his toys, play in a makeshift fort, and cruise around the kitchen.
It was life-changing for both him and us.
But the story doesn't end here. The Frog is taking off. 20 families now have a model. This is Max from Rockton, Illinois. Like Brody, now exploring a world that is just within his reach. And by now, you probably have a good sense of the Moreland family. But it gets better. The couple is giving away the frogs for free. It changed their lives. They're hoping it changes more. And if you want to help more kids get the Frog, check out their GoFundMe page. It's called Help Brody Get Kids Moving. We thank the Morelands for sharing their story. We thank you for watching. I'm Tom Yamas. For David and all of us here, good night.